Hi, I'm Ron Bateman, the Sheriff of Anne Arundel County. Welcome to your Anne Arundel's Most Wanted program, a program where we showcase wanted criminals, highlight open cases, and look to you for tips. You, concerned citizens, that share my same goal, and that's keeping our communities safe. You'd be proud to know that your calls have allowed us to put handcuffs on thousands of criminals. So sit back, set your DVR, or grab a pen and paper, and help do your part in catching criminals. You're watching Anne Arundel's Most Wanted. Now it's my pleasure to introduce a new guest on our show, Chief Tim Altomare from the Anne Arundel County Police. He's the new Chief of Police. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Sheriff, it's always a pleasure.
Who'd you bring for us?
The first subject I have today is Keandre Larnell Harris. He is a 20-year-old black male, 5 foot 4 inches tall, 155 pounds, with a last known address of 8557 Pioneer Drive in Severn. His warrant is for violation of probation through the circuit court from an original charge stemming from an armed robbery of a citizen that took place back on May 13, 2013 in the area of Charter Oaks Boulevard and Town Center Boulevard in Odenton. His recent violation stems from a January 15th incident at approximately 12:35 p.m. when officers were on patrol in the area of Mead Village Circle and Mead Village Road when they observed a 2011 Dodge sitting in the middle of the circle, directly in the traffic lane, blocking the free flow of traffic. Officers recognized one passenger as someone who's currently banned from Mead Village. The vehicle then exited Mead Village, and another officer was in the area and advised that the vehicle was traveling in excess of the posted speed limit for about a mile. Officers located the vehicle on the on-ramp to I-97 South and initiated a traffic stop on the vehicle for the violations they observed. The front seat passenger was identified as Keandre Harris. Mr. Harris was banned from Mead Village by the Housing Commission of Anne Arundel County in May of 2013 and duly served his banning notice. As a result of his violation on this date, he was arrested and charged with trespassing. Harris has an open warrant for violating his probation. The second subject is Corey Ryan Knapp, a 24-year-old white male, 6 feet 2 inches tall and 150 pounds, with a last known address of 1604 Timon Drive in Glen Burnie. He has 5 total warrants, 2 warrants for violation of probation through the circuit court, and 3 warrants through the district court for failure to appear, DWI, and assault charges. His original charge for the violation of probation is first-degree assault. On February 28, 2014, at approximately 12:30 a.m., officers responded to the 200 block of 3rd Avenue in Baltimore for a report of a home invasion. During the investigation, it was learned that the victim's ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend, Corey Knapp, were walking up the stairs leading to the front door of the victim's residence. Corey Knapp was holding an 8 to 10-inch butcher knife, and both suspects forced themselves into the home. The female suspect was assaulting her ex-boyfriend, while Knapp was swinging the butcher knife in an attempt to cut the male victim. Knapp was also swinging the knife at a female victim in the home before both subjects left the scene. Corey Knapp was charged with 3 counts of first-degree assault, first-degree burglary, CDS possession, and reckless endangerment for his involvement in that incident. The third subject today is Giovanni Michael Scardina. He is a 30-year-old white male, 5 feet 9 inches tall, 160 pounds, with a last known address of 105 Patricia Avenue in Linthicum Heights. His warrant is for violation of probation through the circuit court on an original charge of first-degree burglary. On February 20th, 2014, at approximately 7:55 p.m., officers responded to the 1100 block of Armistead Street in Glen Burnie for a report of residential burglary. The victim advised that he left the house, returned home, and noticed money and jewelry missing. 5 days later, the victim reported that other items were missing also. Follow-up investigation, with assistance from pawn records and information received, led detectives to a hotel on Rainer Avenue where Giovanni Scardina was located and was in possession of some stolen items from the home. He was charged for that burglary.
Good deal. Folks, you know the whereabouts of any of those individuals. Call that number, 222-1490 or 911 24 hours a day. I want to tell our viewers, make sure they hang around because you're going to stick around after the break. You and I will talk about your vision as the new chief.
Be glad to do it.
Thanks a lot, Timmy. And now for another regular guest on our show, Corporal Amy Megath from the Annapolis Police Department. Welcome back to the show, Amy.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Who'd you bring for us?
I've got 4 people today. The first one is Eugene Darrell Martin. His nickname is Block. He has a date of birth of March 26, 1982. He's a black male, 6 foot 3 inches tall, weighing 175 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He has a tattoo on his right arm, and his last known address, 707 Newtown Drive in Annapolis. He has 2 open warrants. One is for possession of CDS not marijuana, possession of CDS paraphernalia, and possession of CDS with intent to distribute PCP. The second warrant is with the Sheriff's Department and is for possession of CDS not marijuana. The warrant with Annapolis Police Department stems from an incident on March 22, 2013. Officers received information from a citizen that Martin had been selling CDS from within a parked vehicle on Newtown Drive. Officers went out to the scene and saw the vehicle identified by the citizen. The vehicle was brought back to APD for a search. Officers found 7 half-fluid ounce bottles of PCP hidden within a child's car seat. A search warrant for Martin's residence was obtained, and officers located approximately 40 more bottles that had not been filled yet. Second subject we have is Brian Jarrell Eagleton. Date of birth, December 22, 1983. He's a black male, 6 foot 1 inches tall, weighing 200 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He has tattoos on his left forearm and his right forearm. His last known address is 716 Geesey Court in Glen Burnie. He has 1 warrant for possession of CDS with intent to distribute, possession of CDS not marijuana, and trespassing on posted property. An Annapolis police officer was patrolling the area of Clay Street and Pleasant Street when he observed 2 men standing in front of an address on Pleasant Street. No trespassing signs are posted in that area. The officer approached the men to see if they lived in the area when one of the men took off running and the other started walking away. The officer recognized the man walking away as Brian Eagleton from prior contacts. The officer started talking to Eagleton, and Eagleton said he was visiting someone in the area. As they continued talking, Eagleton began to give indications that he was going to flee the scene. Eagleton took off running, dropping his cell phone. Then he dropped 2 plastic bags containing over 30 grams of suspected cocaine. The officer stopped pursuing Eagleton and picked up the items Eagleton dropped. Eagleton was able to flee the area, but the officer obtained this arrest warrant. And the third subject we have is Ramon Domingo Dolores Estrada. His date of birth is August 22, 1975. He's a Hispanic male, 5 foot 5 inches tall, weighing 170 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. His last known address is 1000 Madison Street in Annapolis. He has 1 open warrant for second-degree assault, third and fourth-degree sex offense, theft less than $100, dangerous weapon with intent to injure, concealed dangerous weapon, and alcohol beverage intoxication. In November of 2012, Dolores Estrada sexually abused a 14-year-old girl who was staying in the same home. The girl was sleeping and awoke to Dolores Estrada pushing her. She tried to call police on her cell phone, but he took it from her. Dolores Estrada assaulted her and then threatened her with a knife. After he fell asleep, the girl was able to flee the residence and tell her brother about the assault. And the fourth subject we have is Jesus Rojas Oliveira, also known as Jesus Oliveira Rojas. His date of birth is December 24, 1979. He's a Hispanic male, 5 foot 5 inches tall, weighing 130 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He has a large tattoo of the Virgin Mary on his right bicep. His last known address is 831 Spa Road in Annapolis, and he has 1 open warrant for first and second degree murder. This warrant is from an incident on April 17, 2003. At approximately 9 a.m., a passerby found an unresponsive man face down in the wooded area behind Lighthouse Wines and Spirits on West Street. Officers responded and found the victim, Alfonso Serrano, on a dirt path in the wooded area, wrapped in a piece of orange-colored padding used for rugs. Mr. Serrano was deceased and appeared to have a head injury. Detectives investigating the death found evidence that Jesus Rojas Oliveira murdered Mr. Serrano. Charges of murder were filed on Oliveira, but investigators believe he fled the country. Oliveira is originally from Mexico.
Well, we got to get our hands on that guy. Yes. Folks, you know the whereabouts of any of those individuals. You know the drill. Do not approach them. Instead, call that number on the screen, 410-222-1490 or 911 24 hours a day. Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff.
And now for another regular guest on our show, Detective Sergeant Jimmy DeLay from the Maryland State Police, Glen Burnie Barrack. Welcome back to the show, buddy.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Who'd you bring for us?
I have three for you today. The first one is Mallory Yule. She's a white female. She's 22 years old with a birthday of March 21st, 1992. 5'1", approximately 135 pounds. Last known address of 317 Oak Manor Drive in Glen Burnie. On September 6th of last year, a uniformed trooper of the Maryland State Police Glen Burnie Barrack was on routine patrol in Anne Arundel County. At approximately 8:45 a.m., the trooper initiated a traffic stop southbound 97 in the area of Quarterfield Road of a black Mitsubishi Lancer bearing Maryland registration after noticing it was expired tags. During the course of the traffic stop, the driver was identified as Mallory Yule of Glen Burnie. An MVA check determined that the vehicle was uninsured, the registration was suspended, and the tags were expired, as well as other minor traffic violations. Yule was escorted to her residence where the registration was confiscated and she was released on citations. Yule failed to appear in court on January 5th of this year and has an active bench warrant for the must appear violation of driving in an uninsured vehicle. The second one I have for you today is Shawnice Belton. She's a 36-year-old female with a birthday of September 12th, 1978. She's 5'6", 220 pounds, black hair, brown eyes, and a last known address of 4212 Marvin Court in Brooklyn. On July 7th of 2013 at approximately 1 in the morning, a trooper responded to northbound 97 north of Route 100 for a motor vehicle accident. Upon arrival, the trooper observed a light blue Hyundai Santa Fe which had overturned and was upright against the median barrier. The driver was identified as Shawnice Belton. Belton was injured and transported to the University of Maryland Medical Center shock trauma. Belton initially claimed to be the passenger in the vehicle. A check through MVA revealed her license was suspended. Injuries sustained by Belton and the interview techniques of the officer revealed that Belton was the driver. She claimed to be cut off by another driver and swerved to avoid the collision. Upon speaking with Belton, the trooper detected the odor of an alcoholic beverage coming from her breath as she spoke. She admitted to drinking beers and was also under the influence of methadone. Due to her being immobilized and spinal precautions and her pain level, the trooper was unable to perform any standardized field sobriety testing. She was read her DR-15 advice of rights where she agreed to submit to a blood test for alcohol concentration. She was subsequently charged for driving under the influence and having a suspended license. Belton failed to appear in court on January 21st of this year and has an outstanding bench warrant. The last one I have for you today is Zachary Wilkes. He's a white male, 20 years old, with a birthday of March 17th, 1994. He's 5'10", weighs approximately 175 pounds, has brown hair and blue eyes, with a last known address of 2905 Rockingham Court in Pasadena, Maryland. On February 1st of 2013 at approximately 11 p.m., a trooper was in patrol in his marked vehicle in the area of Aviation Boulevard. The trooper observed a silver SUV with an inoperative tag and brake light. A traffic stop was conducted Aviation Boulevard between the State Police Barracks and Cromwell Park Drive. Upon contact with the driver identified as Zachary Wilkes, an odor of marijuana was detected coming from his vehicle and his eyes were glassy. Another patrol unit responded and a search of the vehicle was conducted. Upon exiting, all occupants were uncooperative. The front seat passenger smelled strongly of marijuana, and when he opened his mouth, it revealed fresh marijuana that he was attempting to swallow. A probable cause search of the vehicle revealed a case of Bud Light beer in the rear with several bottles open. In addition to the beer, a bottle of rum was located half empty. On the front seat floorboard, a cigar rolling paper containing trace amounts of marijuana was located. None of the individuals in the vehicle were 21 years of age or older. All occupants, including Wilkes, were charged on a civil citation with possession of an alcoholic beverage by a person under 21 and a criminal citation with possession of CDS paraphernalia. Wilkes failed to appear for court on December 19, 2014, and has an open bench warrant for the CDS-related offense.
Great. Folks, you know the drill. If you know the whereabouts of any of those individuals, do not approach them. Instead, call that number on the screen, 410-222-1490 or 911 24 hours a day. Keep those calls coming in, folks. Your tips are definitely paying off. Jimmy, thanks a lot, brother.
Thank you, Sheriff.
And now for those subjects wanted by the Anne Arundel County Sheriff's Office. Let's see, our first subject is going to be Jaquan Dallas. Dallas is wanted for malicious destruction of property less than $1,000 and has an additional warrant for unlawful use of a motor vehicle and theft $1,000 to $10,000. Now on March the 8th, 2014, Dallas decided he needed to kick out the windshield of his girlfriend's sister's vehicle. He was seen doing that, plus damaging the air vent of the car, so the vehicle's owner went and applied for charges against him. A bench warrant for the destruction to her property was issued from the court. On August the 26th, 2014, Dallas helped himself to the keys of a Dodge Journey and then took it for a spin. Problem is, it wasn't his. In fact, it's the same vehicle he kicked the windshield out of earlier last year. Ultimately, it was a bad move. People saw him driving it, knew who he was, and knew that a vehicle was not his. The victim applied for charges against Dallas for the incident, and that is how he picked up another new arrest warrant. So, we are looking for Jaquan Dallas, who's a 19-year-old black male, the date of birth of March the 3rd, 1995. He's 5 foot 4 inches tall, weighs 150 pounds, and has black hair and brown eyes. His last known address is 1823 Richfield Drive in Severn. Now let's see, our next subject. It's going to be Michael Wayne Shoemate. Shoemate is wanted for 2 counts of assault. On October the 11th, 2014, County Police responded to the 8600 block of Scorton Harbor in Pasadena for the report of a subject with a knife. Officers canvassed the area and learned from witnesses that Shoemate had engaged in an argument with his girlfriend that escalated. During the contact, he spit in her face at least twice. How very mature. He pulled a folding knife from his pocket, opened it, and then threatened her with the weapon. Wow. And that would be why we are looking for Michael Wayne Shoemate. He's an 18-year-old white male with the date of birth of August 13th, 1990. He's 6 foot 2 inches tall, weighs 195 pounds, and has brown hair and blue eyes. His last known address is 1694 Grandview Road in Pasadena. Our next subject, that's going to be Dennis A. Smith. Smith failed to appear for court on December 5th, 2014 for his prior escape charge. He got a bench warrant for that. Smith also failed to appear for court on December the 8th, 2014 for his prior burglary charge. Another bench warrant was issued. You know how that works. Today we are looking for Dennis Andrew Smith Jr., who's a 38-year-old white male with a date of birth of December 2nd, 1976. He's 5 foot 10 inches tall, weighs 190 pounds, and has red hair and blue eyes. His last known address is 7733 Telegraph Road, number 16 in Severn. He has also used 805 South Crane Highway in Glen Burnie. Now our next subject, that is going to be William Charles Cox Jr. Back during 2013, Cox Jr. had quite a romp charging up someone else's credit card and was placed on probation after being convicted. Unfortunately, he repeatedly tested positive for cocaine during the term of his probation, which conflicted with the condition not to illegally possess, use, or sell any narcotic drug, controlled dangerous substance, or related paraphernalia, in addition to the condition he was to totally abstain from alcohol, illegal substances, and abusive use of any prescription drug. A bench warrant rolled out for violating the terms of his probation. So today we are looking for William Charles Cox Jr. He's a 33-year-old white male with the date of birth of June the 29th, 1981. He's 6 foot 2 inches tall, weighs 185 pounds, and has brown hair and hazel eyes. His last known address is 357 River Road in Arnold. Now our next subject. Now we have profiled this guy at least 3, if not 4 times on this show. William Frank Lindsay Jr. Let me say that again, folks. William Frank Lindsay Jr. Lindsay Jr. was on probation for a prior CDS possession, not marijuana conviction. He failed to report as directed, failed to work or attend school regularly, failed to obey all laws and incur no serious motor vehicle violations, and failed to submit to evaluation, testing, and treatment. A bench warrant rolled out for that. Lindsay Jr. also picked up a new arrest warrant for 2 counts of trespassing. During these incidents, he was captured on surveillance cameras, got you there, Billy, on another person's property without permission, of course, on the day he had been released from the detention center. Wow. He was seen lingering in the area where 2 fires had recently been set and had no cause to be there. Today we are looking for William Frank Lindsay Jr., who's a 29-year-old white male with the date of birth of May the 8th, 1985. He's 5 foot 11 inches tall, weighs 210 pounds, and has brown hair and hazel eyes. His last known address is 8309 Woodland Road in Pasadena. Now, here are our 3 most wanted deadbeats. This information is provided to us by our hardworking friends at the Anne Arundel County Office of Child Support, and they do a great job. So our first DB is Warren N. Maynard. He is $63,514 in arrears with paying child support. Wow. Maynard is a 43-year-old black male with the date of birth of August the 5th, 1971. He's 5 foot 10 inches tall, weighs 200 pounds, and has black hair and brown eyes. His last known address is 171 Bertina Nick Way in Annapolis. Next, we have Jennifer K. Stafford. She is $16,184 in arrears with paying child support. Stafford is a 44-year-old white female with the date of birth of April the 9th of 1971. She's 5 foot 5 inches tall, weighs 145 pounds, has brown hair and green eyes. And her last known address is 121 Canal Street in Graysonville. Let's see, next. That is going to be Robert A. Vennick. He is $11,020 in arrears with paying child support. Vennick is a 48-year-old white male with a date of birth of April the 12th of 1966. He's 6 foot 2 inches tall, weighs 270 pounds, and has brown hair and brown eyes. His last known address is 804 Austin Street in Baltimore. Vennick has also been known to stay at 1452 Maryland Avenue in Severn. Now, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have Chief Altomare back on the set, and we're going to talk about his vision as the new Chief of Police for Anne Arundel County.
It's harder whenever there's a bigger group. Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Welcome back from the break. I'm Sheriff Ron Bateman, and I have with me Chief Altomare, the new Anne Arundel County Police Chief. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Now, last month we had County Executive Steve Shue on the set, and Steve talked about how he created the Public Safety Core Group, which consists of you, my agency, the Detention Center, Wes Adams from the State's Attorney's Office, and the Fire Department. And so we have 5 of us now that are involved as a core group. And our mission is obvious. It's all pretty much the same, is to try to keep Anne Arundel County a safer place to live. So you and I were talking off set about one of the things as a chief that you wanted to instill back in your officers. Why don't you tell the audience about that?
Sure. One of the most important things that I thought of coming into the job and assimilating all the millions of things that I have to assimilate was, as I took a look, I wanted to really send a message all the way down to the troops working the street, that we're all on the same team, and that I don't think that I'm better than them or more important than them, and that my badge still says police, and we're all in this fight together trying to keep the citizens of Anne Arundel County safe, and that I have their back.
Very good. Now, one of the things that the county executive's office has really put a big focus on lately, and everyone's seen it in the newspaper, is our heroin epidemic that we're experiencing right now in Anne Arundel County. So let's talk about how our agencies, both you and I combined, are tackling that.
Okay. Very early on, County Executive Shue and I started a conversation, even before he knew he was going to win the election. And we talked about how bad heroin is in the county. And I got marching orders very quickly that he didn't want it to be business as usual fighting that fight anymore, and that he wanted to pull all facets of county government into kind of a holistic approach at combating the problem versus the piecemeal approach that you've seen over the years. And so the Public Safety Core Group was an easy way for us to start talking about the problem and to develop dialogue. Fortunately for me, when I reached out and asked for help on our new heroin investigative task force, I got a yes answer from you, and you were in a position to provide us with a drug detection canine too, which is a huge boon.
Yeah, great dog.
Night after night, out trying to make things happen in an investigative manner. The dog is really a force multiplier for us. So, one of the lucky happenstances in that first month was to get Mike Pristoop from Annapolis City to agree to give us a detective for the task force. The county police provided 2 detectives and a sergeant, and then we bumped up funding a bit, our investigative drug funding, to let that investigative team get to work. And the vision is from the Baltimore City line all the way down to the Calvert County line. They're going to go after heroin dealers who we both know peddle death in our communities. They profit from people's slow, painful demise. And I want to catch every one of them and put them in jail, and I know you do too. So that was kind of morphed into now the first prong in a 4-point plan that I have for the year, sending down to all my folks on the agency that heroin, our teamwork together as public safety agencies in the county, that's job one. Go out, stop the folks using the heroin from letting their addiction lead them into crimes. Make an arrest, and when we make an arrest, try to get them help. Heroin addiction isn't something that most people can fight by themselves. So we're kind of focusing at a user level on making the arrest, stopping the crime, getting them in, and then trying to use that crisis point for them to push them towards treatment in a healthy manner.
And for those people who have not been following this in the news, it's not just you and I and Mike Pristoop from Annapolis City. It also involves the health department, the school system, and like you said, multifaceted to try to tackle this problem in a holistic manner.
Sure, absolutely. And historically, we both know there's never been that cohesion in trying to problem solve together. And the beauty of this thing the county executive has done is that all those disciplines are coming to the table once or twice a month and talking about treatment centers, and we need more treatment centers, and geographically placing them onto education and working with the Board of Ed to get an acceptable program together for certain age groups of kids to try to keep them away from the drugs on through the treatment centers. Really, for the first time in my 22-year career, everybody working together to try to solve the problem.
And this kind of, the next focus of yours really ties into this, is commercial robberies. It's another one of your focuses to your troops is try to combat these commercial robberies, which really ties into this whole heroin issue.
Absolutely. Commercial robberies are on a huge rise in Anne Arundel County this year. I didn't bring statistical data, but they're up a lot. So most of these commercial robberies in one way, shape, or form go back to drug addiction. Whether it's somebody who's trying to get enough money to get high tonight, or whether it's somebody in a gang who's trying to get enough money to give up to their boss for the night, and then they're going to go get high too. But it all kind of relates back to the drug problem. Drugs drive about 85% of our crime. I think you agree with me on that. So commercial robberies is the second prong in my 4-prong approach this year. We've centralized the commercial robbery unit again.
Good.
It had been decentralized. I'm hoping that increases our networking out with other agencies. I'm hoping it increases communication. And then I'm hoping that it's easier to spot trends around the county that might get missed otherwise with that. But we're going after commercial robberies hard this year also.
Now, you mentioned that this actually ties into all of these, is gangs. Another one of your prongs.
Yes, sir. Gangs is the third of the 4-prong approach that we're trying to combat this year. I put a second gang detective in the gang unit down there. As we move forward, you're going to see me do more with that. I don't want to paint a picture where folks think gangs have taken over Anne Arundel County and they can't go shop safely. But there is a gang presence in most communities in Anne Arundel County. I think as we grow as an agency, we need to step our efforts up at combating that so that they don't feel comfortable here. If we make gangs uncomfortable here, we make them go somewhere else, and that's a good thing. And that's what we're shooting to do.
Very good. Now, the fourth prong is metals, metal thefts.
Yes, sir. So we talked about commercial robberies being linked in with the drug problem. Metal thefts are an epidemic just like heroin is, and you could say metal thefts are an epidemic because heroin's an epidemic.
Yep.
But there is metal theft going on from the Baltimore City line to the Calvert County line, whether it's commercial or residential. HVAC systems they're taking for the metal. They'll break into vacant homes and take the copper out of the walls. They will break into BG&E sites and come within an inch of killing themselves in these sites to steal copper. So it's everywhere. It's a holistic problem. And that's the fourth prong of our crime fighting approach this year. We have a full-time metal theft unit. They're crushing it. It's a fender-based strategy. We know who a lot of these bad guys are. We're keeping an eye on them to see who they're hanging out with that we didn't know about it. And then during the time frames that we think they're going to go do stuff, we're watching them. And we've had great success with it. And really, the strategy's the same there as it is with gangs. Anne Arundel County is a tough place to do business. If you're going to do that kind of business, go somewhere else.
Exactly. I think your vision has good purpose to it, and I think we're going to sit back and watch some great results. So I'm really looking forward to this,
Thank you very
Chief.
much. I appreciate you having me.
Folks, I want to thank Chief Tim Altomare for being on our show, and I want to thank a few people that allow this show to happen every single month. First Air County Executive Steve Shue. Also behind the camera there, Mr. Dale Boyer. From my office, Lieutenant Jennifer Gilbert Duran. Also the Annapolis Chief of Police, Mike Pristube, and the Acting Superintendent of the Maryland State Police, William Palazzi. Remember, folks, I'm Sheriff Ron Bateman. We'll keep Anne Arundel County safe. I'll see you next time on Anne Arundel's Most Wanted.